Wait a minute, I hear something.
Dr. Luby! Dr. Luby! Blueberry News! Dr. Luby! Dr. Luby! Yeah!
What's happening, everybody? It's time for another episode of Dr. Movie, your third favorite podcast. I don't know, maybe fourth. I don't know. As long as I'm in your top 50, that's cool with me. Back with another fun-filled episode, and we're going to talk about the 2010 Frozen. No, not the Disney version with Let It Go and all those songs. There was a Frozen that came out before that in 2010, directed by Adam Green. And, boy, this one really packs a punch. As you know, Adam Green just kind of came out of nowhere and started doing, the Hatchet movies, Digging Up Tomorrow, Chillerama. I mean, involved in a lot of different things. But I think this is the one that really got my attention as him directing. And this is a thriller horror, like I said, from 2010. And let's do a synopsis here. As a winter storm approaches, 3 people become stranded on a chairlift high above the ground after a ski resort closes for the night. Yeah, that pretty much nails it. Super low budget, but well executed. This movie is about as intense as it gets. It was for me, anyways. It's not a straight-up horror movie like they kind of label it here, but it's just a fight for survival of a more realistic terms, As far as our cast, you've got 3 main characters. Shawn Ashmore plays Joe, Emma Bell is Parker, and Kevin Zegers is Dan Walker. Kevin Zegers was I believe in the Dawn of the Dead, the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Is that correct? Oh yeah, and a couple of the Air Bud movies, right? The other 2 have been in a few things. We do have Kane Hodder in here, driving a snowplow. So, which we know later on, Adam Green uses Kane Hodder in the Hatchet movies. So we're seeing a growth here, and a growth, not like, not a bodily growth, but a growth of a relationship in movies. Yeah, man, this one is just a survival flick, right? You got 3 friends. It's you got Dan and his girlfriend Parker, and Dan's best friend Joe, and they're going on a ski trip. And they pay this guy off to let them ride the sky lift. And, not a big deal at first, but they go through the day. Lots of good character development. And I think that's something that we're missing now, is because you've only got the 3 characters, they spend a lot of time getting you invested in these characters. And it's done so well. There's like I said, they pay this guy off to go up on the ski lift and do a run, and then when it's time to go home, they're shutting everything down because there's a storm coming. So they're trying to get everybody out of there, and they convince the guy to let them get back on so they can get out of there as quickly as possible. And the sky lift's pretty much empty at this point, right? There's only these 3 that are riding on it, and the guy that got paid off to let them go is called into the office because of some time that he wanted to take off in the next weekend or so, and his coworker comes up and says, "Oh man, you got to work," so he kind of throws a fit. So he hands it off to this other guy, and with all the confusion and everything, we forget about the 3 people, and they shut everything down. They're about midway, and they're suspended about, I don't know, 30 feet from the ground. I mean, they're way up there, more like 30 yards. They're really high up there. And so they're trapped, and of course from there on you get, survival mode, right? They're trying to figure out how they're going to live through this because it's getting colder. They're starting to get a little frostbite. They can't go to the bathroom. They're hungry. All these things start kicking in. And it seems like this would be boring because there's a ton of dialogue, right? Because it's just these three, and they're trapped up here, and they're trying to find a solution. They late at night they see Kane Hodder come through in a snow plow, and he's right underneath them, and they're throwing stuff trying to get his attention, but it's during the storm. So he thinks he sees something, and he kind of stops and looks around, and he's not sure. And eventually he just goes on his way. And from there, we get, decisions made, good or bad. I mean, I'm not going to give too much away because I really feel like this is a movie you need to check out. So I'm trying to give you as little as possible. But they are stranded up here, and we get, again, the dialogue building between these characters. You just end up liking them. Joe, one of the best friend, he kind of hits on a girl. He don't really hit on her. He's trying to help her. She's having problems with her ski gear or whatever. So he's trying to help her out, and she's there with an ex-boyfriend, and, he's aggressive and tries to push Joe down, all this stuff. And literally, he was not trying to do anything, right there on the spot. He was generally trying to help her. And, but he bumps into her later on before they get back on the lift to go home. And, he ends up getting her phone number, and she explains the situation, was sorry and was embarrassed about the whole thing and all that stuff. So, you get to see some good come out of that. But, you kind of got the third wheel thing kind of going on, and there's a little of that kind of goes back and forth. And when they get stranded up here, a lot of that really comes to a head. And, you get a lot of blame that starts getting passed back and forth, and them trying to find solutions of how to get down, and it just gets insane. And claustrophobic is not the word, but the tension of being that high up and it being freezing cold in a storm and trying to figure out what to do, it really tests your mind too of what kind of solutions would you come up with? What would you try to survive, right? And I'm really not going to give you any more than that. All I can tell you is this movie will have you squeezing your hands, right? You're anticipating what's going to happen and how do they get out of it. It's really intense. And so well done. And again, the key to all this is the problem I have with a lot of the later movies, is you just don't care about the characters. And they spend enough time in a situation where really you wouldn't care, right? But being it's just the three characters and a lot of dialogue and, the best friend scenario, the girlfriend scenario, this really works. And there's really not much of more of a cast. There's 7 people maybe in the cast of this movie? Not much. So I kind of have to hand it to this one. I need to go back and revisit a lot of the Adam Green stuff, but there's something about this one that I just think possibly is his best work. I don't know. I haven't seen anything recently, but this one has always stood out to me, and I was really blown away when the animated one came out, and I thought, wow, this could really be a mix-up, being that they are exactly the same name. But, I guess that's just, you're always going to have titles that are close to the same. That's how we end up with Smokey and the Bandit Part 3. But I can't say it enough about this flick. This is a solid flick. Why is it classified as horror? I'm not exactly sure. It's more of a suspense to me. But there is some grueling things that happen here, and like I said, you are on the edge of your seat through the majority of this film. So excellent movie to revisit. And there's the thing about it now, which I mean we had we had cell phones and stuff at this point too, and it's like, man, if somebody just had a cell phone, this could have all been solved. But I don't know if that was just part of the idea of this. It doesn't really say it was supposed to be an earlier time before cell phones or nothing like that, but I know sometimes he does disclaimers on things like that as far as, a time period where you don't have that access. But this one just really works. And again, it really makes you think about, what would you be willing to do, right? Because your humility goes out the window. Your humbleness goes out the window. You start getting... it's the same chaos that happens in any of your zombie flicks or stuff. Anytime that you're facing an adversary and you start playing the blame game, all these things start happening. And I don't know, it's really intense. Not only are you dealing with life and death of how you're going to get down, 30, 40, 50 feet from a hanging wire in the freezing cold below zero weather with minimal, you just got your ski jackets and stuff on. And, you start getting snappy with each other and start blaming each other. I don't know. It's really, really intense on many levels. Highly recommend this one. You need to check it out. It is on Tubi, like the majority of these that I like talking about. And I give this a 4 out of 5. I think this is a real solid flick. I was afraid to revisit it because I remember liking it when it came out. And wow, I think it really holds up. I was just as intensified watching this one as before. So I don't think you can really go wrong with this one. It's a very, very solid flick. So if you are a fan of this movie, if you really like it, please let me know, because I just wonder where this one kind of sits, because I can see where it belongs in the horror category, but it's not legit horror. I mean, this is something that I think the majority of this you could even see on regular TV and still come away with the same kind of feelings that you would even if it was edited. Some of the things that happen in it, but for the most part, it's great. And so yeah, if you're a fan or if you've never seen it, check this one out and let me know what you think about it. And I just feel like it really holds up, and just kind of want to share that one with you. So also, if you got ideas of other films you want me to kind of review for you, a listener's request, get them to me. I'll be glad to do them. If you know some other movies that are kind of like this, that kind of give you this same kind of ride, let me know. I'd be glad to cover those. I like the suspense movies, and this one just really, really works for me. So that's it for this one, folks. So hopefully we will see you next time. Check back with, like I said, other movie requests and stuff, and we will check you later.